Comcast Network. Brought to you by the Pennsylvania Lottery. This week's jackpot stands at $20 million. The Wells Fargo Center, home of the Philadelphia Soul, left vacant this spring by the Flyers and the 76ers. But the Philadelphia Soul, more than filling that void, off to one of their best starts in team history at 9-1. Tonight they take on the New Orleans VooDoo from South Philadelphia. I'm Lou Tilley. Tom Goodhines will have the analysis and all the background information as we carry you through the 11th game of this Soul season. It's an 18-game regular season. The Soul won the toss and elected to kick it away. Tommy Freevert, one of the best at just that, knocking it out of play, and New Orleans will have to start deep in their own territory.
One of those best moves, Lou, that Coach Dalzell all week practicing. If we can pin them at the 5 or inside the 5, that limits their playbook of what they can do and limits them to get things started. And hopefully they can apply the pressure from that pass rush up front.
The VooDoo have had a struggle all year. They won their opener this year, then lost 4 in a row. Then they won their second game, then lost 4 in a row. Let's hope the pattern breaks if you're a Soul fan tonight. Adam Kennedy brings him out under center, back in the starting role after going out with an injury in week 6. And on his first completion, well, you get a little taste of Soul football as Kent Richardson lays the wood.
K. Rich is able to find that route easily in front of him, makes a sure tackle. Look at him zone in, meets him right at the line, and K. Rich is having himself a great season.
That's squaring up right there. That's square and as balanced a tackle as you can make. So negligible game. It'll bring up second down and long, backed up and starting from their own 5. First possession of this arena football game from Philadelphia. Those of you watching on ESPN3, we welcome you to Philadelphia. On the Comcast Network, our originating network this week. This ball nearly picked off by one of the best ball hawks in AFL football, James Romaine, looking for his 8th.
No excuse there. He'll tell you the way he cradled his head after that catch, he knew that he might have tried to baby that one a little bit, tried to get the hands underneath it, and just couldn't hold on to it. Good pressure by Brian Robinson just on the doorstep. And Romaine reading that, cutting in front, just can't hold on.
It's arena football, but the basics are the same. Get good pass pressure, and a quarterback will make mistakes. Brian Robinson was the defensive end, one of the league leaders with 6 sacks on the season coming into the game. Brings up third down and the better part of 9 and change. For New Orleans, Kennedy looks left and has a completion to his go-to receiver, but Duval is still short of the first down. It'll bring up a 4th down Foreman Mills play by New Orleans. 4th down brought to you by Foreman Mills. Stretch your bills at Foreman Mills.
Early test here for that pass rush. They got to be honest. Watch for the run. They got the short yardage situation, Lou, but you also got to make sure that the receivers are not giving up the big play.
Chris Duval is his go-to receiver, his 5th-year receiver, who already has career numbers as they face a 4th and short. Falls as the fullback, but there's a whistle before they get the snap off.
Looks like the Soul had a good defensive call here, and Dean Coquinos had to call the timeout.
Coach of the New Orleans Saints, we want to urge a long time to go here, still in the regular season. If you haven't been out to the Wells Fargo Center yet, where the Soul come in undefeated on home turf at 7-0, contact us now at 888-789-SOUL. The Soul actually had a home game last week, Tom. You'll be talking about it at halftime. The first ever Boardwalk Bowl down in Atlantic City.
What a venue. What a venue, Lou. It was a great place to watch the game. The sight lines were great. The atmosphere was tremendous. Had a great crowd down there. The whole entire organization was excited about that adventure.
That game seen on national TV, and hope you enjoyed it. The Soulmates were there. It was just like a home game, but only at the beach. And our thanks to Tropicana Resort and Hotel for helping host it, along with all of Atlantic City. There's motion on 4th down, maybe against New Orleans.
4th down.
Just shows you that he's anxious to get outside. Some of that outside pressure, Brian Robinson has Dixon a little bit of shaking in his shoes as he started early to try to get his body out there in time to set things up, and that draws a penalty.
Cornelius Dixon, the left tackle, jumped, number 77, 6'6", 350 pounds. So it'll bring up 4th. We're going to call it 6. And of course, in arena ball, you go for it. Your only other option is to try a long field goal. Kennedy gesturing to DeVault to get in motion. Here's the play. And it's to DeVault, who has the first down across midfield. Chris DeVault, 5'10", 175-pound receiver out of Illinois in his 5th year. Just came in with 60 catches for 736 yards. That's 6 grabs and 73 yards per game. 12.3 per grab, 16 touchdowns on the season, and they avoid the first potential big turnover on downs as they convert 4th down.
You know that the coaches are pulling their hair out on the sideline, but the Soul is 31% of giving up 4th downs, which is second best in the league defensively, so they normally do a very good job.
Defense has been a big uptick and improvement for the Soul this year, coming off a 500 season a year ago. First down completion, it's the quick out to Roger Jackson, a rookie, 6'3", 190-pound target for Adam Kennedy, who's back into the starting role at quarterback on the season. Before he was injured, 111 completions and 188 tries. That's 59%, 205 yards per game, and a pretty good touchdown to interception ratio at 18-5. He was the starter when the Soul won in New Orleans in Week 5. He faces 2nd and 7 as the clock is down to 11:23 in the first quarter. Running clock in the AFL, and good pressure there by Scott. Forces Kennedy to throw it away.
Yeah, that should be a sack. That's intentional grounding. He threw it right into the bench, and nobody was even close to him. That should be a penalty, and the officials are talking about it. Spun him right around. In the definition of intentional grounding, there's no intent. They're trying to say he's out of the pocket, but he didn't even get back to the line of scrimmage if that was even the case. Threw it right into the bench of the Soul, and that's going to be a good call right there.
While the quarterback was out of the pocket, the pass failed to make it to the line of scrimmage. Intentional grounding.
Good call. Reggie Smith confirms the call by Tom Goodhines from the booth.
Yeah, and that's usually they'll allow that, the intentional grounding, if he's outside the pocket, but he didn't even make it back to the line of scrimmage, thus drawing the flag. So give a sack there to Patrick Scott.
Patrick Scott, defensive end, 6'1", 300 pounds, out of Florida A&M.
We didn't mention the big boys up front. Patrick Scott playing that other edge rusher position. Justin Lawrence at the nose, and Jake Metz getting his second start at the MAC linebacker because of Bo Bell being out with a little bit of a back issue.
Bo's been in and out, the veteran MAC linebacker, so Jake Metz, number 8, getting the start. They'll mark it at the spot of the foul. And make it 3rd down, let's call it 12. DeVault, the motion man. Kennedy pump fakes, looks to the corner.
Nice play.
And they throw a flag. Romaine looked like he had a clean breakup, but the flag comes in indicating pass interference.
Watch the right hand there, Lou, on the replay. That's going to be the call that they're going to make on Romaine as he lunged in front.
Defense, number 25. 10-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
Did he drag that second hand on the shoulder and turn the receiver away from the ball? That's going to be the question here. Watch for Romaine's back hand, his right hand. I don't know, it looked pretty good timing there, Lou.
I'm telling you.
But that's going to be the call. It was that back right hand that churned the receiver, calling for the pass interference.
So making a first down for the VooDoo, who have had trouble scoring points all year, averaging just 41 per game. And on first down, Kennedy in the pocket, hooking up with McLean, getting his first significant action at wide receiver this year. Just a 5'7", 175-pounder out of North Alabama has caught consecutive passes now from Kennedy.
Kind of funny with McLean trying to talk to the official that he got in the end zone, but the defender hits you into the boards, you're out of bounds.
We'll bring up 1st and goal for, no, I'm sorry, they can still pick up a first down. It's a 2nd down, about 3. First down somewhere inside the 2-yard line for the VooDoo. VooDoo have struggled to score points. One game this year, a loss to Tampa Bay. They posted only 13. And last week, in losing to that same team, 34. Kennedy buys time, hits McLean again. Good tackle by Larico Stevenson, keeps him out of the end zone.
He's going to get the first down, though. It looks like he got first down yardage. See how the Soul defense buckles down. Kennedy just waits. Time and has to go to his second read down underneath. McLean thought he could muscle his way in, and Larico is one of the toughest guys on the team. Makes the sure tackle.
This may not sound like much, Tom, but your team this year, the Soul, is a much steadier, more sure-handed tackling team on defense.
Just you give a lot of credit to Stingley coming in and helping teach that and conveying that toughness.
First and goal, there's some motion. Falls trying to get into the end zone. I think he did. The big fullback, nope, maybe they marked it before he hit the turf. They marked his progress short of the goal line, and there was a flag on the play.
They call him Brian Robinson, maybe.
Offside, defense, number 12. At the distance of the goal. Repeat, first down.
Roosevelt Falls on the carry. He's starting at fullback, number 44, 6'2", 240, small by fullback terms in the AFL. Also plays a lot of linebacker for this team.
Remember, with the offsides rule, that's a tough one for Robinson to take early because he gets a second one. He's done for the half. So him getting that one early here in the first quarter is not a good sign.
Interesting. First and goal again, only about a foot. And touchdown, VooDoo. First to crack the scoreboard today. Kennedy sneaks it in himself, so the quarterback in his return to action after 6 weeks, recovering from injury, drives them 45 yards on the opening series in about 7 minutes to give New Orleans an early lead.
Just a simple keeper, and he was in clearly. Didn't need the help from the fullback to get him in. It looked like Kennedy had broken the plane on his own.
Garrett Lindholm is the place kicker, 50 of 55 on conversions this year. High snap. It's good. Extra point, no guarantee in arena football. We're underway from Philadelphia. The 9-1 Philadelphia Soul find themselves trailing 7-0 VooDoo. We'll be right back.
What's up,
Back at the Wells Fargo Center, I'm Lou Tilley along with Tom Goodhines. From the rare times this year, the Soul find themselves trailing early on.
Well, the other thing, too, is they normally win the toss. So the defense is usually used to being on the field first. They're not used to the team scoring first that quickly.
So we'll see Dan Ronabaugh and his league-leading offense under the direction of Clint Tolzel, the Hall of Fame quarterback who has been together with Dan for Dan's entire AFL career, and perhaps his best start to a season this year. 66% on the season, 65 touchdowns to 6 INTs. Larico Stevenson will get a chance off the netting, and Ronabaugh and his offense will start deep in their own territory. As New Orleans, a team desperate for a win. Check that was James Romaine on the return. New Orleans, a team desperate for wins, is just 2-8. They're off to a good start.
And with Romaine, that's not an unusual characteristic for me. He sees a hole, he goes. That time the VooDoo do a great job of pinning him in and not giving him the lanes.
The VooDoo do. In history, the Philadelphia Soul have never lost to New Orleans, 6-0 in history, although Philly has lost once in New Orleans in the Arena Bowl a couple of years ago to Arizona. Ronabaugh's first toss is a completion. That's Ryan McDaniel. He'll be a busy man, and that's good for a first down.
First ever Soul victory was against the VooDoo in team history back in 2004. So they've had a lot of success, a lot of good
some good times in New Orleans, too. New Orleans, yeah. Won their championship down there in 2008. Soul trying to get back to the title for the first time in 9 years. Hard to believe, 7 years. Hard to believe it's been that long. Ryan McDaniel, one of 3 wide receivers for Dan Ronabaugh with over 50 connections this year. Marco Thomas leads them all. He's the man in motion going down long, but the underneath throw may have been tipped for SK. Sean Kalinamoko out of Hawaii and Oregon.
Yeah, the Jack linebacker getting his hand in there and deflecting it.
Now he's a story. That's Sissoko Boubacar, number 21, the Jack linebacker. That's the linebacker who drops back into pass coverage. They've had 8 different Jack linebackers on the season.
And I think his first name is Boubacar.
There you go. I knew that.
That's all right. I just let you take that
one. Sissoko. I don't want to go to the acronym with him like we do with SK because he'd be BS.
Yes.
So we'll avoid that one. Boubacar Sissoko, the Jack linebacker. Little guy in that position, Tom. He's just 5'9", 185 pounds, so he's like having a 4th defensive back out there.
Yeah, it's all about the angles and knowing that he can go side to side. I mean, speed and awareness and instinct also plays into that position. It adds bonus if you got the height and size. And, Gooseby plays that box as well as anybody in the league. But if you get a little guy that knows the angles and has the instincts, he can make some plays.
First third down test for Ronabaugh and his offense. They're one of the best in the AFL. Look like motion from the fullback, and they've blown the play dead.
offense, number 55. 5-yard penalty, third down.
Tell us about the new fullback for the Soul, Tom.
Well, even with Gerald's getting some action here tonight, you know, originally he was brought in, and Davron is one of those guys that we brought in as a guy that can play center, he can play line, and be a backup fullback. The timing of it, we get him the week before Tommy Taggart goes down, and then he's thrust into this position and having to take on a bulk load of the pass protection from the fullback spot. You get down in the red zone, and usually you'll see Joe Gooseby swap in.
This means 3rd and 15 for Rotterdam's offense. Stan has time, throws across the middle, has a receiver. Marco Thomas still on his feet. Cuts left, cuts right. Touchdown, Soul! "39 yards on the catch and run by Marco Thomas, his 22nd touchdown of the season.
And that's one of those traits with Dan Rodabaugh. Get that ball to that playmaker. Watch him time in the pocket, release. Nice catch, good instincts not to touch the wall, avoid the tackle, sets up the block from McDaniel, and backs his way into the end zone.
Another look at it here. Let's see, he shakes off the tackle.
That's instincts, not touching that wall, staying in bounds.
Nice block by McDaniel in front.
Set that one right up.
Freevert, the conversion, down, up, and good. Freevert, one of the best in the business. The Soul have come back to tie it with 4:02 to go. We're in the first quarter from the Wells Fargo Center. Soul 7, New Orleans 7. Pennsylvania lottery proceeds benefit older Pennsylvanians every day. Players must be 18 years of age or older. Back at the WF, where the Soul have come back, each team has scored on their first possession on lengthy drives. For the Soul, it was 43 yards and a 39-yard touchdown connection on 3rd and 15. Rodabaugh to Marco Thomas. How about Freevert and the job he's done? He kicks it right through the goalposts again and into the netting, and there's a loose ball.
And I think they missed a block in the back there too, in the end zone.
Roger Jackson, starting wide receiver, may have recovered this and avoided disaster for New Orleans.
There's Joe Gooseby in there again, stripping at the ball as he goes down. Ball pops out. New Orleans is on it. But I think they also missed that block in the back as Hollis came in. And
we'll be right back. The Soul 7, New Orleans 7 from Philly. New Orleans coach Dean Kokinos rolling the dice and bringing Adam Kennedy back from injury. We didn't know right up until kickoff who would start at quarterback, and Kennedy in there, number 5, 6 for 7 on his first drive for a touchdown, and now 7 for 8, off to a really good start.
Well, he's getting him the quick passes to allow him to get that confidence going, and that plays into New Orleans' hands because part of that game plan for the Soul is got a young guy, young quarterback who's been out a while. Rattle his cage, get in the pocket, collapse the pocket, put pressure on him early, and that'll shake his confidence, and usually you'll have success.
His only mistake, that one that he threw away, was called for intentional grounding. He came back with a big completion and then snuck it across himself for the touchdown. And here on 2nd and medium, misfires a little bit long, targeting McLean quite a lot here in the early going.
And also remember he caught a break with the first pass that Romaine dropped that could have been an interception also. Right. Something that could rattle the confidence of a young quarterback.
That could have changed the whole thing around right
out
of
of the box. That usually does. If you get an interception early, that's going to throw your confidence off. But that nice first drive is giving Kennedy some confidence as he rolls here out in his second drive.
Charles McLean leads the VooDoo receivers with 3 grabs, but it's Duvault, the go-to guy, in motion on 3rd down. And Kennedy has to scramble, runs left, awkward throwing position, but finds a man for a VooDoo touchdown. It's Roger Jackson, and Kennedy, the quarterback, made it happen. Late flag flies in, but it looks like a VooDoo touchdown.
That's going to go a celebration against New Orleans. You can't jump onto the walls. That's a league rule. You can do most any other celebration. You can't just jump up on top of the walls. But
tough throw, Tom.
Yeah, Richardson just lost his man, and then able to buy time from Kennedy, and he was able to put it out there.
Look at the position.
Watch him get out there, and then Robinson almost gets there, but not in time. the only thing you can't do on this celebration, basically, is jump up on top of the boards. They don't allow you to do that. You do anything else.
So they'll mark that off after the kick. Here's the conversion attempt. Garrett Lindholm, 1 for 1. And this is blocked by Brian Robinson, one of the best all time in the AFL at that particular skill. And that usually turns out to be critical. So the Soul blocked the point. They'll be back with a chance to take the lead for the first time. 2 minutes to go in the first quarter from the Wells Fargo Center. It's New Orleans 13, Soul 7. Lou Tilley and Tom Goodhines from the Wells Fargo Center as the Souls try to stretch out their season record to 10-1, but they trail the VooDoo here from New Orleans. Garrett Lindholm will kick it away. And James Romaine right in front of the Soulmates, who are just behind the end zones.
And he's electrifying. Anytime he can get his hands on the ball and he hits the holes, with explosion and power, he usually can always be a threat to take it to the house.
The Soulmates, the cheerleaders really do become a part of the fabric of the football team. Tom, this is a story, my dad's in a tough fight right now up at Area Tarsdale Frankfurt Hospital up in the far northeast, and the attending nurse who's been doing such a great job with him for the last week, her name's Joni Barron, and I thought I knew the name. She was part of the Eagles cheerleaders back around 1987 through 91. So the old connection's still there, pulling together in the Philadelphia area. And we thank Joni and all the good folks at the cardiac care unit, the ICU unit in particular, at Area Tarsdale Hospital for all the great work they're doing with Lou Sr. And if you know my dad over the years, this is a good time to keep him in your thoughts and prayers.
Best wishes and prayers from Soul, and for me personally, that I know it's a tough situation for you, Lou, and we're thinking of you.
Big guy loves this game of football, Tom. He was quite a player in his day back at Frankfurt High School under the great Odie Sarek in the mid-50s. Played a little bit at Temple as well and started all of his boys into this great game.
Yeah, I'm not seeing what the issue is. There is that delay down on the field. I'm not seeing exactly what the issue is. It's not closing in the bench area. Look like on the visiting side.
Down on the near sidelines. Once again, the Philadelphia Soul is sponsored for the last couple of years by the Pennsylvania Lottery. The Mega Millions jackpot has an estimated annuity right now of $20 million. So play today. Pennsylvania Lottery benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. Looks like we're ready to go. Garrett Lindholm to kick it away again to James Romaine with 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. If you're just tuning in, the VooDoo here leading the Soul at 13-7. Soul about to get the ball. It'll be off the netting for Romaine. Gets a block up the middle. Has a lane along the right side. Still on his feet. Cutting back. James Romaine turning on the crowd.
Said it earlier.
Yeah, you said it again.
That's just some of the explosiveness of what he can do. He adds that extra dimension, and then you got to remember the penalty on top of that, so it'll move it even closer to the goal line. But he adds this extra dimension. He's the different return man than Larico Stevenson, who's more of a straightforward plunge ahead and get us some positive yardage. Romaine's more of a guy who sets up his blocks. He's elusive, he's electrifying, and always a threat to bring it all the way back.
He's just having one heck of a football season, any way you look at it.
He's really coming into his own, and a lot of people had questioned before about some of the moves we made in the offseason and putting Romaine in that position in the middle of the backfield, and he's showing some of the reasons why.
Right ball, pump fakes, goes to the end zone, touchdown, Soul! Lonnie Outlaw, 6'6", 217-pound target, makes the grab in traffic.
Affectionately, his teammates call him Little Boogie in reference to Larry Bracken's.
Okay.
It just shows you the frame, and even his laugh sounds a little like Larry. But that right there is a Larry Bracken's type catch. Lonnie Outlaw is going to make that a Lonnie Outlaw type catch. That's the potential this young man has. Just excited from the coaching staff and the personnel side what he can do.
And there, Dan Ruddaball helping one of his teammates.
Ryan McDaniel.
Ryan McDaniel limping to the bench. We'll try to get a report. We hope it's not serious. Freevert. And with a conversion, the Soul lead for the first time in today's game with 20 seconds to go in the first quarter. It's the Soul 14, VooDoo 13. The Soul, after today's game, go on the road for a couple of weeks, Tom.
Yeah, we're actually going to be going to Orlando, and then after that we're going to LA. So this is really a tough spot for them. People had talked and asked, okay, what's going on with the schedule and how it's laying out for the Soul and what's going to happen here. Orlando's a tough trip because they're doing so well, and you come back and then you got to go cross country again, all the way out to LA. So they haven't won a game yet, but guess what? You try traveling cross country and see how well you can do and function out there. So it'll really test the guy.
Yeah, my only experience with that a couple years ago, we went out to Spokane, and I know how tough that trip was, and it showed that night.
Not to mention China.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, trip to L.A. would just be a rest
stop. You and I have made that trip a few times.
A few times. Yep. Marty Judge, Ron Jaworski, Cosmo Denicola trying to get football going in the Far East. And the onside kick is recovered, executed beautifully. Freevert, like a set play to Joe Gooseby.
Gooseby, I tell you, if you want a guy that's been making a campaign for All Arena, this guy is just showing you, putting on a clinic the last few weeks. He's not going to show up all in the stat sheet except in the Tampa game where he did. But it's plays like this, it's efforts like this, Joe Gooseby going up and making it happen. There's no better, that on the other end of Freevert, Tommy Freevert. It's just all arena caliber right now. Guy we got out of an open tryout.
Speaking of China, Gooseby, when we went over there, played a little wide receiver. He does it all. The first quarter is in the books. The Soul starting to get on a roll. They lead the VooDoo 14-13. Back with more right after this. Underway, the Soul come in at 9-1, trying to stretch it out. A hungry team here in New Orleans, just 2-8. They played a solid first quarter under Adam Kennedy back at quarterback.
Short passing game, and keep calling him Doug. Dean Kokanis is doing a good job of giving his quarterback confidence, letting him get that confidence to get his team down the field. They've been successful on 2 drives. Momentum like that, an onside kick, and make it turn really quick.
Good news here that Ryan McDaniel is apparently okay, Tom, and we held our breath because he's recovering from an Achilles injury a year ago. Back in there now, Ruddaball pump fakes, trying to take advantage of the turnover. Has SK, Carlino Moko, zigs, zags, touchdown! Soul! A little hula to that one for the native Hawaiian.
It's artistry there, Lou. You got the motion man, and McDaniel's taking the attention over to the far side. And then Ruddaball pump fakes to Thomas and then finds SK, who is as tough as they come, especially when you get him inside 2 defenders to shake off and get into the end zone. Does a great job of finding the ball, moving his body to set himself up, to run it across field and then cut back up inside and into the end zone.
Oh, he smells the end zone, and the snap on the conversion is a bad one.
Yeah.
Freevert will cover it up. The Soul failed to convert, but they do pick up the onside kick, and on the very first play, it's Dan Ruddaball to Sean Kailino Moko, and the Soul showing some life now and a spark. They lead New Orleans 20-13. Soul converts an onside kick to make the big first change in this game to swing the momentum, and they're on top by 20-13 after they missed the conversion. Freevert will kick it away, and a return opportunity for Beavers at the 5, and good coverage by the Soul. They try to rip it loose. New Orleans, for the first time, will have the ball and trying to play from behind.
And Beavers is a guy that's local. He's from up in this area. He came to a few of our tryouts before, found a home down in New Orleans. Speedy, young, elusive kick returner. He also came with us to China as well.
Adam Kennedy brings him out. playing from behind for the first time. Will start at his own 5-yard line, down 20-13. A team that has struggled for points this year. Kennedy, and this one broken up at the last moment. Just a little bit underthrown for Chris Duval.
Duval did a nice job actually adjusting to that pass because it looked like Romaine was setting his sights on it. And Duval couldn't spin his body all the way around. Outside rush, they're calling on Jake Metz. But that's the question I want to see is, was Kennedy out of the pocket? That's not an outside rush if he already broke containment and was outside. See, number 8, Metz can't go around the edge. He's a MAC position. You have to go either in the A or the B gap. You can't go outside, but you saw the line shift down, and he went straight ahead. That would be something.
That's
we'll
hard
probably
to resist.
Yeah. Coach Dozell will definitely have a conversation with the officiating crew following the game.
Good coaching point there, Tom. First down, new set of downs. Kennedy throws medium range and a little too hot to handle for Beavers, who's in there at wide receiver now with Romaine lurking. Number 25, James Romaine out of Delaware State. 7 interceptions, 2 fumbles caused, a slew of tackles on the year as well.
All of this coming for a guy who's really playing the middle for the first time. You see a guy that's changed positions. He was more of a front side defensive back. You move to the middle, there's new responsibilities. It's a new position to play, and he's done it on an all-league caliber level.
Kent Richardson and Lyrico Stevens flank him in that defensive secondary. And there's Romaine coming up to make a hit along with Richardson. A short gain on second down. Coming up at the half. Interesting. Tom Goodhines will grab the mic and talk with the coach of the Philadelphia Soul, Clint Dozell, about last week's Boardwalk Bowl experience in Atlantic City. And we'll both talk with Barrett Brooks, the Super Bowl winner in his days with the Pittsburgh Steelers and, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles, and now big media star on his own. Talk about his new show, Breakfast on Broad. Third down here. Quick toss to McLean. Breaks a tackle. Looks like he has the yardage across the 20. It'll be a first down.
Got to give a lot of credit to McLean there because he was the one who spun out of that. Looked like he was going to get trapped and cause a fourth down, but he was able to spin and find the outside and gain first down yardage.
McLean, not a real big guy at all.
Spun, got to the outside, got the block by Duvall, got around the corner.
Probably the best offensive performance, at least so far, for the VooDoo in quite some time. They come in averaging just 41 points per game. Oh, and a big hit by Kent Richardson. His second solid tackle takes the helmet off of the receiver, Roger Jackson. Yeah.
Just been form technique there from Richardson. He's put on a tackling clinic here in the first half.
Very solid secondary for the Soul this year. A big key to their 9-1 start, trying to make it 10-1. Trying to get back to the Arena Bowl and win it all. Second down, let's call it 6 yards to go. McLean is the motion man. And they'll throw the little underneath to the fullback all the way to the end zone for the touchdown for Roosevelt Falls, who's got some hops in his step. Looks like a real athlete. Like I said, not a big guy, 6'2", 240, but nice job by Falls.
Yeah, that was set up nicely as they let Robinson's aggressiveness work against him, let him fall inside, and that opened up the screen pass. And watch, he was supposed to take responsibility. He just moved out of the way of Robinson, knew that he was going to come in aggressively and set himself up nicely for the screen pass.
Falls can motor. He's got some good wheels. Play some linebacker as well out of Louisiana Tech. So New Orleans does not fold. They answer the call. They come back to tie it. We've got a ball game. 9:38 to go. First half from the Wells Fargo Center. Soul 20.
Managing.
Back at the Wells Fargo Center, maybe to somewhat something of a surprise. VooDoo hanging with the Soul, 20 all.
Well, they're calling a good game. You got a good game plan going, and obviously Kennedy has given these guys a spark to allow them to get some positive things going. You're 2-8. You got to try some things, and it's been working out for the VooDoo.
Philly will get the ball back, tied at 20. James Romaine has been back there to receive kicks. Short will try another one from inside the goal at the 1 yard line. Romaine penned up this time, but the Soul still with good field position will start at their own 10-yard lines. 40 yards to the end zone in arena ball. It's a 50-yard field, about exactly half the dimensions of the outdoor game. And if you're watching us for the first time, hard to believe, as much as success as the Soul have had here since their start in Philadelphia. But if you're new to the game, it's a running clock through both of the halves until the final minute, the 1 minute mark of each half, and we revert to what we would call traditional timing rules. Soul and VooDoo tied at 20. Philly has scored on each possession so far. Brought a ball back to the air and connecting with Ryan McDaniel. Tom, the beard is still intact and hasn't been trimmed a bit, though, as the season has gone on.
A lot of teams still fear it. As you can see, the teams have been moving coverages along over to get on McDaniel, and which opens up things. And when you've seen SK's and Thomas's numbers go up, especially from the touchdown standpoint, McDaniel's still as tough as nails and is drawing that attention.
Growing that big woodsy red beard all year long, says he's not going to take it off entirely till they win it all. Brought a ball underneath, and there's Ryan McDaniel. Oh, my. Touchdown, Soul. Hey, if you catch a player in the front row, do you get to take him home?
Wouldn't hurt. Get some chores, have him mow the lawn, do some dishes.
25 yards on this connection, and look at him finish.
Wide open, and hey, he went out of bounds. No, he didn't. Remember, he was not forced into the wall. So at the 5-yard line, he was allowed to use that wall to keep himself balanced. It wasn't until the VooDoo player tried to shove him out of bounds. By that time, the ball was already across the goal line.
Gotta love it. They misfired on the conversion last time. This time, Freevert gets a good spot and punches it through. One of the best in the business, the Soul, 27, New Orleans, 20. Keep it right here, Tom, with 7:41 to go in the first half. I told a story a little earlier about former Eagles cheerleader up at my dad's hospital where he's fighting right now, and I want to congratulate former Eagles cheerleader and her husband, Mr. and Mrs. Cherokee. Pete and his wife, their young man, Pete Jr., graduating from Penn Charter today. I was there, and I also want to congratulate my nephew, David Smith, and his wife, my sister, Linda Tilley. Their young man, David, graduating from Penn Charter today. Congratulations, Dave. Proud of you.
My daughter will be graduating in 2 weeks.
Is that right?
So she'll be graduating.
That's not possible. You're not old enough.
She's graduating high school, so was up there this past week with her award ceremony. She was East Syracuse Manoas, where she goes to high school, and she is heading to RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, where she will play soccer.
Oh, great program
out there, and she's on an academic scholarship as well. So
and her name is?
Amanda Goodine.
Amanda, congratulations. David Smith, congratulations. Pete Cherokee, congratulations on graduation day. Beavers to return for New Orleans. Has a lane and finally shoved out of bounds around the 20 by the kicker, Freevert.
Yep. Now you're wondering, hey, he should have recovered that. Remember, contact from the Soul player into the wall for Beavers, out of bounds. So that came before the fumble. So good call by the official. Right there, his elbow hit first, marked out of bounds, the correct call.
At the 16. Here comes Adam Kennedy, the quarterback for the VooDoo, 6'4", 230. He's been out of the lineup for 6 weeks. Got a surprise start and return and has been pretty much impeccable in leading New Orleans, a team that has struggled for points all year at just 2-8 on the season. Kennedy whips it out to the left sideline for a completion on first down. It's Roger Jackson. He's just a rookie, but having an excellent season.
Another nice tackle by Richardson, obviously given the pop there, so he's bringing it. In that secondary, making sure that the receivers know that that secondary and his teammates Romaine and Stevenson are there to bring it.
Jackson now with 4 catches for 60 yards and an excellent first half. 6'3", 190-pounder. Kennedy, who on the season was completing 59% of his passes, a much better clip today. There's Jackson again, another short gain, and they'll still be short of the first down. They'll bring up third down in about 3. Clock continues to roll. 6:10 to go in the first half. Kent Richardson, 6 foot, 200 pounds, out of West Virginia. Had a tryout with the Cleveland Browns a couple years ago.
Yeah, actually, after his phenomenal season with us, where he had 14 picks, went to the Browns and then went up to the CFL and then eventually came back to us.
Third down toss. Kennedy looks left, looks right. Now throws it right sideline. Complete for Duvault and a first down.
That's where that pressure has got to come inside. You got good coverage from that secondary, but Kennedy had a lot of time to throw and went through his first, second, and got to his third progression and was able to get the first down. So that pass rush is going to have to bring it for sure.
5:25 to go. The team's on schedule.
And Uriah Grant, who's now into the game at the edge rusher on the far side. The son of the former two-time champ, Uriah Grant, boxing champion.
All right. Kennedy slips it over the middle again to his fullback. And a nice arm tackle, because look, Roosevelt Falls looked like he was about to get loose again.
Yeah, Gooseby was on the ground. He still had a handful of jersey to bring him down. Otherwise, it could have been a touchdown for the VooDoo.
Kennedy doing a nice job of spreading the ball around.
Seems very comfortable in the pocket, which is not a good sign for the pass rush
Right.
for the Soul.
VooDoo lost last week, a tough one, to Tampa Bay 35-34. In their first meeting earlier this year, Tampa beat the VooDoo 72-13. So in 2 games, the VooDoo posting just 47 total points against the Storm. You wouldn't know it tonight.
Nice tackle there by Larico Stevenson. Looked like McLean again was going to turn it upfield. Or was that Duvault?
That's Jackson again.
Jackson.
Roger Jackson.
Watch him churning it outside, and Larico getting down low and getting a piece and still finishing the tackle.
I don't blame it. You know, here in the Wells Fargo Center, folks, if you're ever down here, look to the very highest seats in the building. That's where we sit to watch these games. We're in Jim Jackson's hockey booth. I don't know how Jimmy does it. He does a heck of a job. It's hard to see. Loose ball. Kennedy picks it up, though. And it'll force a 4th down on a broken play.
So they're going to say offsides on Romaine on the near side. That flag came in late.
Wow.
Defense, number 25. 5-yard penalty. The result is a first down.
It's Reggie Smith on the call. I was reacting to the replay.
The flag came late, and Coquinos pointed over to Romaine. I didn't see it until the reaction from Coquinos, and that drew the flag immediately.
Good call by the coach. So they wiggle off the hook, and it does not force a 4th down. A new set of downs, and it's a 1st and goal for the VooDoo, one of the worst in AFL in red zone conversion for touchdowns. They will kick a field goal now and then. It's the toss on the reverse. Short of the end zone is Duvault.
Good read by Gooseby, not going for the fake, staying with his main man on containment, and brings up only a minimal gain, maybe 2 yards. But Gooseby reading that all the way.
Good looking play, yeah. And Gooseby, a real linebacker, reading his keys, stayed home.
Stayed at home, and even Brian Robinson was there, but Gooseby and Robinson were not faked.
2nd and goal. Call it 7 yards away. Duvault will be the motion man coming into your screen from the bottom left. There he is. Kennedy throws underneath, has a man. McLean dives for the end zone.
Oh, I don't know about that. He dove short. The guy on the near side's marking short. The one marked touchdown.
Yeah, I thought he put the ball down.
Look at the guy on the near side.
Watch this right
Watch
here.
this ball.
Nah, it's not a touchdown.
Now, was he touched? That's the question. If he just dove and was not touched,
oh, I see.
That's a touchdown.
Right, if he wasn't touched.
He dove. Is he contacted?
Well, the crowd didn't think
so.
so.
The replay flag's coming in, but I want to see contact from anybody. He got in. And remember, he's still live just because he dove short.
I think they made the right call.
Say he dove, but still not touched.
Yeah.
And did the ball make it over by the time that he was touched? I don't think he was touched.
I don't either.
That's the only thing I have wrong with that. Clearly he was short, no question. Now, by the time he rolled in, was there contact prior to that? And was there any prior contact before he leapt? He tried to leap towards the end zone.
No, there wasn't beforehand. I'm sure of that.
That's going to be the question. We'll see what the officials see on this. But, yeah, there was no question he was short. And even the near side judge, we look down here, the near side judge marked it short by inches with his foot. But the guy on the far side came over and signaled.
Is it like the NFL rule where the quarterback slides and gives himself up? Didn't he essentially give himself up?
No, he didn't. And even that would be feet first, even if that was applicable. But no.
No, I didn't see him get touched before he went down the one end zone angle.
That's going to be the question. Yes, he came up short, but did he roll in after without any contact prior to him going in?
All right, let's reset it. 2:13 is where the clock is stopped. We're still in the first half, the second quarter at the Wells Fargo Center. It looks like it may be a New Orleans touchdown. If so, that score as you read it will stand. Remember, that's the call on the field as well. So that is the call. They'll have to see something definitive. And if we couldn't see somebody touch him, then that should probably remain a touchdown. The Soul goes on the road for a couple of weeks. Next week in Orlando and then out to L.A. to play the Kiss before coming home again to take on that Tampa Bay Storm team that we were talking about in one of the classic wins in Soul history down there in Florida a couple of weeks ago. 44-point win as the Soul put up 71 points. They'll be back home against that Tampa Bay team.
Carrier dove and hit the ground short of the goal line. However, he was not down by contact. He slid into the end zone. It's a touchdown. The ruling on the field is confirmed.
So exactly as we saw it, that's the call. Yeah, he was short, but no contact. So you're still live. So it's a touchdown.
Here it is.
Short, and no contact until he's already across.
So he took the low road, and then they convert, and we've got a ball game. Soul 27, VooDoo 27. We're right back. Back at the Wells Fargo Center, 2 minutes to go. Tight game, Tom.
Triple Crown winner. Just announced. They just said it he won the race. But I expect the onside kick here. That's why everybody was up. But they kick away. Lorico still on his feet.
Lorico Stevenson back in there to return this one, and he's matched James Romaine and taken it 5 yards further. How about that?
And that's the guy, you want the guy with some of the most secure hands, especially in the return game. Lorico's got a lot of experience when you're expecting an onside kick. That's why you see Lorico back there pulling that one in. Watch how tough he is. Bounces off 2 tackles. Here comes number 3 with a spin. Bumps into his own teammate. There's 4. Here comes 5, finally bringing him down to the turn.
And as Roosevelt falls, the fullback linebacker saving a touchdown.
2, 3. His own teammate is 4. There's 5 right there. 6 guy right there.
Dan Rodabaugh comes out firing on first down, short gain to Marco Thomas, who had the first touchdown of the night. Marco, number 3, one of the league leaders, coming over to Philadelphia for the first time. From the old Barnstormers, came into this game with 86 catches on the year for over 1,000 yards. And he's missed a game, so he's averaging about 124 yards per game, and he's right on track for that tonight. It's the 1-minute warning. 1 minute to go in the first half. The Soul trying to take the lead before the break. Soul with the ball, trying to milk the clock and get the lead before we take a break in the first half here. We're tied at 27. Dan Rodabaugh brings them out at the VooDoo 15. Dan 7 of 9, make that 8 of 10 now for the game. And 9 of 11 as he connects with SK. Colleen Amuko on the far sideline.
Oh, there's that strategy. Remember, arena football is about possessions. Soul want to milk this all the way down. Dan finding the sure pass, staying in bounds, trying to keep the clock running. Notice that nice job by Colleen Amuko to stay in. Moku staying in and making the clock run, allowing it to drain the time off the clock because they want to end with a touchdown and then come out of the second half with the ball.
Down to 30 seconds as Rotterdam snaps it on 3rd and short, and the give is the fullback who gets the first down. They'll bring up 1st and goal. Gerald's the fullback, carries for the first down. The timeout, New Orleans. Stops the clock with 23 seconds left to go in the first.
I'm actually surprised, Lou, that they didn't call one before prior to this, because it's now down to 23. And right now they got the first down, and the Soul can really bleed this right all the way down.
Coming up at the half, we'll have a little bit of a beef from one of our viewers. We invite you to write in every week, and Tom will answer your question. Little Beef's Catering and Deli, one of the official training camp and game day meal providers of the Philadelphia Soul. We'll also talk with Barrett Brooks, the former Eagle and Pittsburgh Steeler, a great offensive lineman who now has a show of his own. He'll probably teach us a few things about broadcasting. Coming up at the half, we'll analyze what he's watched throughout. Barrett's done some broadcasting for the Soul in the past.
Yep, a good friend of the Soul and a fan of the Soul. It's always good to have some NFL perspective on how well the team's doing, since it is the winningest team in Philly right now.
Nothing close. Nothing close. Soul at 9-1, trying to stretch it out, but in a tussle here with the VooDoo. The give again to the fullback, and Gerald's gets it down inside the 3-yard line. Chews up a little more clock. New Orleans stops it with 17 seconds. It'll be 2nd down and goal.
Securing the football, dragging defenders with him, picks up 3 more yards, gets it closer. You know, the goal of Coach Dalzell is to get that ball and score, you know, around 10 seconds left. But in this position, you know, even closer under that mark would make him happy.
90 seconds to get
17 ticks left in the first half. We're tied at 27. That's the last timeout called by the VooDoo. They burned one on their opening series, so they can't stop it again. Time management will be interesting to see by Clint Dozell, who does not have the luxury of a true running back as he's had for the last few years here between Derek Ross and Tommy Taggart, more of a lineman type, and Gerald's at the fullback position right now. Let's see what he calls. He'll run the fullback for no gain.
Get on the inside, maybe down to 8 seconds, down to 10.
So maybe by design to make sure that the VooDoo won't get another shot with the ball.
So now they got 2 shots with 10 seconds. 2 shots to get the ball in the end zone. Look for the Soul to try to punch it in here and leave as little time left for the VooDoo to do much of anything. And then remember, the Soul having the ball coming out of the second half. It's a huge, huge momentum swing and a tactic that the good teams are successful at doing, is working the clock down at each half, the first half, and then getting that possession coming out. 14-point swing possibly.
Soul won the opening coin toss and elected to kick it away, and now this could be the payoff if they can score here before the half, and they'll get the ball to start the second half. New Orleans has not stopped the Soul offense yet in this game. Rotterdam to the air and over the middle, but short of the goal line.
They called timeout with 3 seconds. They kept the clock, actually 4 seconds, and they
Philly calls their final timeout. Tom, it's spotted inside the 1. You assume, yeah, they're going to go for it.
Goosby's now checked into the game.
Goosby at fullback and is a much better run threat, Tom. He was forced to play fullback when Taggart went down when you were in Florida and did a great job, didn't he?
Yeah, and not only that, but I think not the size, the toughness of Goosby. He's not as big as Gerald's, obviously, but
quicker.
He has that ability to get outside if it opens the playbook for him. You're not just a straight dive, and that's what you're stuck with. You do have the ability to get the ball outside using Goosby, and we'll see what they have dialed up here to get into the end zone with only 2 ticks left on the clock in the last play of the half.
Coach Clint goes into his bag of tricks, a little confusion on where McDaniel should line up, and they can't call another timeout. Motion man is Thomas. The give is to Goosby, and he does not get the end zone. A big goal line stand by the VooDoo. Clint Dozell down there arguing
wanting
the
point. Call to be reviewed, and Clint's throwing the review flag.
Yeah, we're not gone yet. We're not going anywhere. The ruling on the field.
See what where the knee is, because he's clearly over.
Now the call on the field is that he's short of the goal line. They'll have to see a replay that overturns that, and they won't. They're going to the locker room, Tom. They're going to the locker room. A big moral victory by the VooDoo. They came in at 2-8. They've been blown out many times this year. But here against one of the best, if not the best team in the AFL, we go to the half with an angry Clint Dolzell. But the score is this: Philadelphia 27, New Orleans 27. We'll be back with our halftime show right after this. Keep Soul on the Comcast Network. This handsome devil here, you know, one of those TV guys, one of those TV stars. Barrett Brooks, star of morning TV, Breakfast on Broad. Way to go, big guy.
How's it going today?
How are you liking it? How do you like it?
You know what? I mean, this is the most exciting football you can get to. You know, it's nonstop, fast breaks, like basketball mixed with a little bit of rugby, mixed with a little bit of football. So I love it. I love it.
Now, obviously, you've broadcast for us before, and obviously your experience in the NFL. What do you think is the biggest thing coming in, especially, how about the Soul success of what you can attribute to how have they been successful from an outsider's perspective?
I think, you know, the coach is great. Clint is a guy that, you know, he's totally involved with what the Soul is. He's got that whole Soul camaraderie with Jaws. You know, those guys get along very, very well. And he has some great athletes. That quarterback is great. Dan Roddick is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He has a chemistry with his receivers. You know, it's rare that you find a quarterback that good that's still allowed to stay in arena football, because I think he should be on an NFL roster.
Barrett, of course, played for the Philadelphia Eagles, then went on and got that Super Bowl ring with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I got one. I tried to bring one to the Eagles, but, you know, fate just didn't happen.
Listen, I'm real happy for you. You've worked hard. You paid your dues over there in NFL Films. You're producing. You learned the sport and the game, our profession, the right way. And now you're one of the hosts of Breakfast on Broad every morning.
Yeah, B.O.B., Breakfast on Broad. It was a great opportunity for me. I did it. I didn't do it like all the other athletes did it. I went from the back end.
That's what I'm saying.
I was a producer for 4.5 years in NFL Films. I produced for college football for ESPN.
Drove me crazy all the time.
So I love it. Yeah.
Way to go. Well,
Thank you very
tell
much.
us, and it's Rob and who else? Rob Ellis and.
Rob Ellis, Sarah Baker. You know, you got.
Whoops. You brought us bad luck,
exciting game. Oh, man.
We'll watch a little football with us. Sit here with us for a couple
of minutes.
All right,
if you don't mind, I would.
Breakfast on Broad starts every morning at 6?
Yes, 6 to 8.
How you like doing that 6 in the morning show, Barrett?
I'll tell you what,
I used to do it, you know.
I know. Being at work at 6:30 in the morning, being at work at 4 in the morning, you know, it's a bit much. But, you know, you learn to go to bed at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Sun's still up, and, you know, you have to get used to that.
Guess what?
What's that?
You never will. I did it for 5 years on Channel 3. People used to say, hey, I saw you on the morning news with Amy Caples at 6 in the morning. You look tired. And I go, yeah. Rattle ball in the Soul. Come out firing. And surprisingly, Barrett, they're playing a team here in New Orleans, just 2-8 on the year. But the VooDoo have been near flawless. I mean, you can't say anything bad about the Soul's performance so far.
No, I mean, this is a totally different team than what I saw last week against Vegas. You know, they took advantage of a very young team. And, you know, just played better than them. I think this VooDoo team is a lot better than what their record depicts at 2-8.
Barrett will be back on TV Monday morning on Breakfast on Broad. And watching Dan Roddick to a wide-open Ryan McDaniel at the 15, the 20, the 25. McDaniel almost breaks it. Ryan McDaniel, the free agent find at the tryout camp about a year and 3 months ago, having a great year.
You want to see toughness and demonstrated there by SK. Kaulina Moku coming from the other side. Watch him lay the wood, trying to set McDaniel free. Watch out of nowhere. You just see him come the flying Hawaiian. Whap.
Wow.
I think he took that moniker over for that play.
Wow.
Well, we're looking for a highlight or two here, Barrett, that you can use on the show Monday with Rob Ellis and get the folks out here and get them down to the Wells Fargo Center to see the team with the best winning percentage for the last couple of years in Philly.
Well, you know, I had, you know, Clint, you know, Donaldson, the head coach, on the show last week. And then, you know, he did a great job, and it just really opened up the Philadelphia fans to come in, check out the Soul team, exciting football, one of the major sports here in Philadelphia.
Tell you, it's great, and that's one thing on behalf of the Soul of being proud to bringing a winner here. We're proud. We know this town wants a winner, and we're happy. We just want everybody to enjoy in the excitement of it all.
Well, I tell you what, you know, when you got a head coach like that and an owner like Jaws, you're guaranteed to have a great mix of talent plus just the atmosphere that you need for any any professional team in Philadelphia.
All right, 1st and goal after a personal foul on the New Orleans bench, right at the 10-yard line. Ball looks right and then throws out there, nearly picked off, and fortunately falls to the ground incomplete.
Strong hands, our outlaw having to battle the defender, Tracy Belton, to pull that one in and knock it away.
Outlaw really had a good game last week.
He's that guy now, Barrett, for the Soul was missing last year, a little bit of that red zone presence, that tall receiver, lanky, great hands that they missed with Larry Brackets, and now Lonnie's come on here late in the season and starting to fill that role.
Did a great job in the red zone.
And Outlaw will be the man in motion, 6'6", 220, breaks the plane. Ball looking that way, then takes the safety valve to McDaniel. A flag flies, McDaniel short of the end zone. It's in the secondary, and now a second penalty flag comes in.
Usually get the second guy, and Adam Smith doing the right thing, backing away, but that last hand by the VooDoo player to the face is going to be that second flag. The first flag we'll see usually, and that's a legal defense area or some kind of a block downfield.
And Reggie Smith and his crew huddle up. Looks like the Soul backing up here. We're underway, the start of the second half. Soul at 9-1, VooDoo 2-8, but the upset underway. We're tied at 27. Lou Tilley, Tom Goodhines, and Barrett Brooks in the booth for a spell. Here's the call by Reggie.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Illegal defense, jack out of the box, number 21. The penalty is declined. After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 92. That'll be penalized half the distance of the goal, automatic first down.
Barry, you know this better than anybody else. It's the second guy who usually gets that flag.
Yeah. Always second guy, even though the first guy initiates, the second guy wants to retaliate. He usually gets the flag, and he usually gets the unlash of the penalty by the coach also.
Yep. He didn't like the way Adam was trying to clean up the pile there, but that last throw, how hard is that for a player being in the heat of the moment to refrain from throwing that fist and reacting?
It's hard because, you want to be a man out there and show your manhood, but, sometimes it takes being more of a man to sit back.
Ball fires short, and good coverage by the VooDoo secondary again. And targeting Outlaw again. It'll bring up 2nd down and goal.
They just look a little out of sync at this point, Usually they're on their time, on rhythm. Ball runs a very rhythmic type of offense. I just see they're a little bit out of whack and out of sorts right now.
2nd down. Well, the other thing, Barrett, as you know, Clint Dalzell, the head coach of Philly, has been a coach, a little rarity in this league, that's relied on a real running game, and with Taggart out of the lineup and Derrick Ross gone, doesn't have that option so much.
Yeah,
here's McDaniel. Did he get in?
Yep.
Yes, he did.
Touchdown, Soul. Another Soul score brought to you by Foods Galore, and the Soul move out in front.
He just finds that spot, Lou, cradles it, and turns around and bullies his way into the end zone. He's tough as nails. Watch the hit he takes, the second hit right there, as he dove into the end zone. Remember, he's had to collect himself here because he did take a good hit. Brian Randall will come out to hold instead of McDaniel, who is the usual holder on the extra points and field goals.
Freevert did not miss. It was a bad snap on a conversion, but punches it through this time, one of the best in the business. So the clock will stop with 9:57 to go. We're in the 3rd quarter. The Soul lead the VooDoo 34-27. Barrett Brooks will stay around for us for a couple of more minutes. Stay with us right after the break. Back in the booth with our guest Barrett Brooks, breakfast on Broad. Bob, now, what you're doing now is a little different. You're not just calling a game. You got to kind of be entertaining at 6 in the morning.
You have to wake people up, and that's the biggest thing. Crack a couple jokes here and there, talk a little sports, and then put the mainstream of what's going on in America, in Philadelphia, add a little bit of that spice to it too. So we're not just a sports talk show. We also add a lot of the chemistry of what's going on in Philly, not just sports, and I love that aspect of it.
We got the personality for it without question. I mean, so it works very well.
Well, I'm proud of you, and my old friend, my old producer, Tom Stathakis, helping put the whole program together and building Comcast, and I spent a lot of years with the Comcast gang, and I'm rooting for you to do well. And
Tom's a great guy also.
Yeah, Tommy and I started together back in Channel 3 in 1987.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. He knows a lot, gives me a lot also.
And now my hair is as gray as his.
After the play, personal foul unnecessary roughness number 4 of the kicking team. 10 yards will be added to the end of the run, first down.
They were tied up down in that end zone, Lou, and I think that would have been, in my eyes, you let that one go because they were both tangled up. Unless Reggie saw something that we didn't see from up here in the booth. Two guys are a little bit tangled up. You kind of let that one go. You don't single out one guy.
You know what? I kind of like the fact that Outlaw's being aggressive, you know, because the first half of last week's game, he wasn't that aggressive. Not until the second half that he came out being very aggressive.
Well, he's gaining that confidence. He didn't have a lot of playing time. He's getting the playing time. I'd like to see that development coming along. And so it's coming along nicely for him.
Adam Kennedy, a sterling first half, 17 for 20. Under center now, trying to bring them back in a hurry to the end zone, and just a little long. But that ball's live off the boards.
Now remember, the back wall of the end zone is out of bounds. It's a dead ball.
If it's off the net,
if it would have been off the sidewall or off the nets or off the iron, it's an interception. But the end wall is out of bounds.
Let's watch it. Let's watch it.
Yep, that would have been normally an interception, a good play by Romaine, but the back wall is out.
I'll tell you, Romaine showed me a lot last week with his speed. They put him back there at kickoff return. He's as quick as a cat and fast, isn't he?
Yeah.
And not only that, but he's really taken over for Kaiser in that role of playing in the middle on the secondary, and really he's blossomed into the star that he is today. 7
interceptions, 2 fumbles caused on the season for James Romaine, who faces second and long. Kennedy, number 5, the quarterback, slips it underneath to Roosevelt, and he stopped this time. He had a nice catch and run for 25-yard touchdown in the first half as Roosevelt falls. It'll bring up a 4th down. A second time that New Orleans has faced.
They already changed it over, so it's 3rd down.
Sorry, 3rd down.
Yep.
3rd down and long. Soule trying to turn the ball over on downs, which is tantamount to a turnover in the arena game.
They're quick on the stick there, Lou. They flipped it over 3 before the play was even over.
Let's call it about 6 yards. Get it down to about the 20. Fake right, throw back left, and misfire, one of the few by Kennedy, but good coverage by Larico Stevenson and Gooseby.
Yeah, I like the toughness of the little guy down there in the stands, battling for the football. Gets to keep that. Nice play, getting high fives from probably an older brother.
Where were you sitting during the first half, Barrett?
Yeah, I was actually in the Comcast Sportsnet box.
Oh, of course you were.
You know, I mean,
yeah, hanging out with the TV guys.
Yeah, hanging out there a little bit.
Now it's 4th down. It's a Foreman Mills 4th down, second try of the night. The VooDoo have converted on their only other try. Big defensive down for the Soul. They lead at 34-27. 7 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Soul trying to stretch out their record to 10-1 on the year. Kennedy, left side, complete. 1st down to DeVault inside the 20. And Barrett, you know, folks that haven't been down here to see arena ball, you kind of have to see it in person. There's more contact. It's more physical than you might realize.
Oh, it's definitely physical. I mean, like I said, you know, you get bounced in the walls like hockey. It's so fast, you know, the collisions that happen because these athletes, you know, at the end of the day are great athletes, very fast athletes. They have to be a little quick to be out here on this field. Everything is sped up.
It's one of the things that the mainstream media and the mainstream public don't understand is this is football. You get tackled, this hurts. This is real football.
Absolutely.
Kennedy, pump fake, scrambles, left and then kind of steps out of bounds.
Picks up a yard or 2.
He's nimble, Tom. He's come up with a couple of big plays when he's been forced out of the pocket today.
Well, not only that, he's smart with the football. Instead of trying to force it, he pulled it down and knew that, you know, let's, you know, regain and then gather the cards again and try to shuffle the deck and then reload as opposed to trying to force it in, possibly causing a turnover.
You know, Joe Goose, it's hard to get a guy like him and fool a guy like him. He spotted him pretty good.
All right, Barrett, why don't you just take this play? Let's see how you read it on 2nd down and long. Barrett Brooks.
All right. Romaine being aggressive. I tell you what, he played him. He ran the route for the receiver on that play. Went up for the ball, got it at his highest point.
Look at Derek Stingley, the defensive coordinator for the Soul. He's pumped up. James Romaine has come up with his league-leading 8th interception and 10th turnover of the season. You were just talking about him, B.
Yeah, I mean, Romaine's a great player. He ran the post corner better than the receiver did, was able to undercut it, caught it at his highest point, and comes down with the interception, being aggressive and taking the ball from the receiver.
And the flags now is either going to be on the coaching staff. It looks like the players, as the officials were explaining the possession of the football on the interception, because both appear to come down with joint possession.
Well, we're sorting it out. We'll hold it here. We had 5:25 to go in the third. Looks like the Soul have the interception.
Go to the play is an interception for a touchback. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. New Orleans, number 17, removing his helmet on the field of play. 10-yard penalty, 1st and 10.
Well, that's something, Barrett and Tom, they really want to keep a handle on. As you know, a couple of weeks ago right here at the Wells Fargo Center, one of the players for the opposing team took his helmet off in anger and threw it into the stands and hit a fan. So they really want to be careful about taking that helmet off.
I mean, it's an NFL rule, and it's here with the arena football also. You have to have that.
You have to have control and discipline down there.
Officials have sorted that out, but remember, Romaine appeared at possession first before the joint possession and fell to the ground, but Romaine was the primary possession on the football.
We're going to take a break. We want to thank Broward Brooks for stopping by. The Soul on top, 34-27. Check out Barrett. Breakfast on Broad every morning on Comcast. Thank you, B.
Thank you, guys.
The Soul trying to stretch it out to 10-1 on the year. They're in a tussle with the VooDoo from New Orleans. Soul have the ball, though, and have a chance to break out to the first 2-score lead of the day. After the interception by James Romaine, Rotteball throwing mid-range has Ryan McDaniel. He is allowed to bounce off the boards unless he is contacted and picks up a couple extra yards.
Momentum is a curious thing, Lou. Little sluggish as it appeared going into the half. You come out, you score immediately, you come and you get another turnover, and you got to capitalize. You got to twist that in your favor. You got to twist that momentum back in your direction and make sure that you capitalize and end this turnover with a touchdown.
The two key turning points in the game so far have been a recovered onside kick between Freevert and Joe Gooseby for the Soul that gave them their first lead, and now an interception by Romaine trying to capitalize. Rotteball throws it. McDaniel can't handle it. Had it in the end zone. Oh, now a flag down is, I don't know if there's a flag down, but Rotteball he was really hammered after he let go. Limps to the sidelines.
And that's very late. You saw watch Dan, if you watch that highlight again, watch Dan on that play he was clear. He had good 2 steps before anybody contacted him, so something happened that rolled into him late.
There is a flag. Another flag.
Personal foul, hands to the face. Defense number 99. That penalty is declined. Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense number 92. A low hit on the quarterback. That'll be enforced 10 yards, automatic first down.
Well, the thing there, Lou, is not only was it a low hit, there was a good 2 steps before he goes out of frame. We didn't see it on the replay, but at least 2 steps before anybody was even near him or around him. So it was late and it was low. So
not even close.
So good thing Dan appears to be fine and back in the huddle.
One of the most durable players, in addition to being one of the most talented in the AFL, Dan Rotteball, well over 100 consecutive games played in the league. So the Soul face first and goal right at the 10-yard line. Thomas in motion. Rotteball, end zone, touchdown. Keila Muko, SK with a touchdown for the Soul. Sean Kailinamoku scores for Foods Galore.
And his second of the game, Lou. Again, Dan doing a great job coming out like a guy who comes back from the injury. Look at that strike. He just zips that in there to that corner of the end zone. SK is there. Easy touchdown for Sean Kailinamoku.
Dan Rotteball really racking up the numbers now. 6th Soul touchdown of the game. Tommy Freevert has been perfect. And the Soul now lead by 2 scores. There's been a big shift in the tail of this game. It's the Soul 41, the VooDoo 27. Dan Rodabaugh's 6th touchdown toss, now working on a sterling evening. He's 14 of 19, 213 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, and the Soul in front by 41-27. Lou Tilley and Tom Goodhines on the call. Tom?
The other thing to note on that stat line there for Rodabaugh, not only the 0 interceptions, but 0 sacks. The big guys up front, the unsung heroes all season long. Neil Tivis, Adam Smith, Shannon Breen, and don't forget Davron Geralds as well from that fullback position.
Beavers can't handle it. The Soul have recovered for a touchdown. Oh no, the ball's loose again.
It was in Hollis's hands and then scooted through, and then I think Grant swung over the top. We'll see who comes away with the football. It's not Grant for sure.
The ruling on the field is that Philadelphia player never completed the process of a recovery. While going to the ground, the ball came out. It is a touchdown.
And remember the possession, and he's ruling that, watch Hollis, where he takes possession. He took 2 steps before that came out. That's a challengeable. Throw the flag on that. I would challenge that. Remember, possession, 1, 2. Then the ball came out. That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. Throw the flag. I would throw it. Clint may not think that those 2 steps, that's what he's probably worried about on the review try. Remember, they get 2 reviews per game. They used 1 in the first half. If you're successful on both, you get a 3rd, and that's how that works out.
They're going to let him play. Reggie Smith says, get on the ball. Let's go, guys. New Orleans has recovered. And what could have been a game clincher for the Soul, well, the VooDoo have a chance. On first down, Jackson, who's been a busy man, has the reception.
That's a moot point. Obviously, the coaching staff or some other element, but 2 steps, possession in 2 steps.
8th catch for number 19, Roger Jackson, and Adam Kennedy, the VooDoo quarterback, now 20 of 26 in his return to the lineup for 173 yards. 3 touchdowns. He's been sacked once. And an interception by Romaine that gave the Soul a 2-score lead for the first time in this game. Flags flying again.
It's a false start.
Offense number 77. At the distance of the goal. It's 2nd down.
Patrick Scott forced the
Cornelius Dixon to jump.
Early move.
Hey, listen, Tom, this 3rd quarter has been the VooDoo's hex, if you will, mix a metaphor. In the 3rd quarter this year, they have been outscored 146-40. That's 15-4 on average in the 3rd quarter, and that's where the Soul threatens to break this open right now.
Remember, this is a defense that's been playing very well for the Soul in the 3rd quarter, and they're doing all of this too without having one of their leaders, Bo Bell, in the lineup.
Minute 40 to go in the running clock in the 3rd. Kennedy deep in his own end zone has the receiver McLean, who's been a busy man, out across the 16, and it's a first down for the VooDoo.
McLean just finding that space and doing that with Romaine, in front of Romaine. And Romaine's one of those guys that, you know, sometimes you will get him underneath with some of that other stuff, but guess what? You're not going to beat that guy deep.
5th catch of the game for Charles McLean. 3 receivers with 5 catches or more now for Adam Kennedy. Has a minute to work with in the 3rd. McLean in motion, jammed at the line. Kennedy in trouble, throws it away. Good decision by the veteran quarterback.
And it's funny, some of the coaching staff on the bench yelling about contact, the motion man hitting Romaine.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
With contact and grabbing on, but the grabbing was coming from both directions. Both sides had a lock onto each other. can't scream for your way if your guy's doing it himself.
Time for one more play in the third. It'll be 2nd down and 10. They need to get it to midfield for a new set of downs. VooDoo now down by 14 points, 2 touchdowns. They led most of the way in the first half. 27 all at the break. Here's the screen to Falls, and it's behind him. He was well covered by the nose, Justin Lawrence and Metz, who followed the fullback this time. They weren't fooled.
Just a little miscommunication there, Lou. Just didn't give him enough time to develop and fall out into the flat.
That's the end of the third. It's been a good third quarter for the Soul. They outscore the VooDoo 14-0 in the third. They break away from a halftime tie, and they'll start the fourth with the lead. Soul 41, New Orleans 27. Back at the Wells Fargo Center, the difference a year makes. Tom Goodhines last year, the Soul lost 5 fourth quarter leads. This year, they're 9 for 9 when they go into the fourth with a lead.
I wasn't paying attention. You said something about last year?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Good point. Why bring it up?
Got this team focused. They're doing the right things. They're making the right plays when they need to. And a team that has learned through this maturation period as the season has gone along how to finish. And how do you finish? You have solid fourth quarters.
They start the fourth quarter with the lead at 41-27 after a very solid third quarter. We were tied at 27 all, to the surprise of many all around the AFL. At the break, those of you watching on ESPN3 around the country, we welcome you back to Philadelphia. This is the Wells Fargo Center in South Philadelphia, the home of the Philadelphia Soul. And New Orleans in here trying to pull off a fourth quarter comeback and make the big upset of Philly. Adam Kennedy has a great night going, and he hits McLean. And just like that, the VooDoo are back in this game. Adam Kennedy in his return to the lineup for New Orleans has been nothing short of sensational.
Yeah, just put the ball out there, and it looked like Romaine just lost sight of where he was. And by the time he looked up for the ball, McLean had already positioned himself to let that one drop right in for the touchdown.
35 yards on the touchdown as Kennedy goes over 200 yards passing, 20 for 26 now. Critical extra point now is good. So the VooDoo trail by just 7, and it's shaping up as a wild fourth quarter. Stay with us on the Comcast Network. Well, no sooner did we say it was a good bet to place your money on the Soul in the fourth quarter. On the very next play, New Orleans connects for a big touchdown, 35 yards. Kennedy to McLean, and they're right back in this, and you might be looking for the onside kick here now. Philadelphia has not been stopped on offensive possessions. VooDoo still down a score, but they do kick it away. And Romaine is back and leaps up for the catch and the return. And it's a good one. Knocked out of bounds at the 15 after slipping a tackle inside his 5. Dan Rotteball, who already has 6 touchdown passes and 14 minutes of regulation to work with, is having a great day.
Romaine, knowing that net is clear, you do not want that ball to hit that iron because you don't know where it'll go after. Pulls it in, and he kept his feet. He might have been able to sneak down that sideline.
Dan Rotteball, 14 of 19, 213 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks. Back to the air, fires this one on a line and complete to Marco Thomas across midfield.
And you could not have given any better coverage than Cameron McGlenn did on that play, and he just threw a laser right in there. Marco Thomas hauling that in, but McGlenn had perfect coverage on it.
Dan, this year, to me, Tom, has shown more variety on his throws, the touch throws, as well as stepping into them, and he's got some sure-handed receivers where he can fire that ball with some assurance. McDaniel, the motion man. Quick fake underneath to Thomas, tiptoes down in front of the Trop sign, and our friends Tony Rodeo from the Tropicana Resort and Casino down in Atlantic City, getting some billboard space here in the Wells Fargo Center. They were our hosts a week ago at the Boardwalk Bowl, and also for our big Maxwell Football Club shindig a couple of months ago. Tony and his team at the Trop. It's a great place. Down to the 17 now. It'll be second down, maybe 5 yards for the Soul. The clock will run. It's a rolling clock until the final minute of each half. And the Soul nursing a 1-score lead in a closer than expected game with the VooDoo. Down the ball, has a man, Marco Thomas. 3 straight receptions, 3 touchdowns for number 3, Marco Thomas.
Just a simple route there, Lou, to get into the end zone for Marco. And Dan sees him the whole way. Cut across the face of the defender, and it was wide open to that front corner of the end zone. And a touchdown for the Soul.
Radabal really spreading it around now. McDaniel's over 100 yards with 9 catches for 115. Kalenamoko, SK, 5 catches, couple of touchdowns, and now Marco Thomas back into the end zone, and Freevert is good, and the Soul have reestablished. They've answered that lightning strike by the VooDoo with a touchdown of their own. 11:41 to go in the fourth. Soul 48, VooDoo 34. And Tom Goodhines coming down the stretch in this game against New Orleans. Philly up by 2 scores after another Radabal strike, his 7th of the game, to put him up 48-34. And Tom Dan is now 17 of 22. That's 77%. 248 yards, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions.
He's clearly the MVP in my eyes in the league this year, and he's been backing it up each and every week. You know, through the first 6-7 games. In every game, he was the game MVP, selected by the media and the PR people on site. So, Dan, I tell you, he's just been putting together just a career season. And not only that, but off the field and in the locker room, Dan has been showing those characteristics of a really true leader and really embracing his role as a leader, and this is his team.
Beavers, who's had trouble on a couple of returns, you know, this one is ruled out of play. So the Soul won't have a chance at this one. Dan Radabal, really, the quarterback of the Soul, really rededicated himself for this new season. Wants to take it up another step. You've heard Ron Jaworski say before, and now Barrett Brooks. Barrett Brooks with us a little earlier, Tom. Both say that Dan's got NFL stuff.
Yeah, especially this year, he really has shown it. We got a couple. James Romaine is another guy that should get some NFL looks and will get NFL looks after the season. Dan is in that same spot. This is a guy who can make a lot of the throws, if not all of the throws. He's really shown the arm strength that is needed on that next level.
And he's got that size. Big, solid quarterback, over 6'3", over 225. Adam Kennedy's another big guy out of Arkansas State who's played a fine game. And a flag
I don't
flies.
know about that. I don't know about. That's a quick flag trigger there with Romaine. You hear the whistle, but you're engaged in the tackle. The steps are still going.
Play personal foul unnecessary roughness defense number 25.
Slamming
the player on his head.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's a good tackle. I don't agree with that call. Yeah, on tape and on film, it looks like, oh my God, what is he doing? Remember, engaged, still in motion. Momentum's going back when the official says the play is dead. I just don't agree with that call.
Well, the few matchups where Romaine has a size advantage. McLean's only 5'7", 170 pounds. James 5'11", 180, maybe. Out of Delaware State, just down the road from Philly. So Kennedy trying to bring his team within a touchdown again with 10:44 to go in the fourth. Lobs it underneath and has a completion. And still on his feet. Beavers
they
fighting
should have
down
marked that
inside
ball
the 5.
back. That's a bad mark by the official. Beavers, you don't want to throw a replay for that, but they missed that one. That was bad. Beavers had his hand on top of the wall, his forearm on top of the wall, and Romaine's hand on his shoulder, and yet they let the play continue, and even Goosby's going over and saying his forearm was on the wall. Romaine. They missed that. They gave him a good extra 8 yards on that play. Bad call. They missed that one.
Spot the ball down at the 2-yard line, and a lot of fight in New Orleans. A team that came in with just 2 wins in 10 games and riding a 4-game losing streak. They are hanging in there. Kennedy runs option with Falls and falls down short of the goal line. Not a real good looking play to the short side of the field. Didn't fool anybody.
Sloppy on the snap too. It looked like, watch, he just kind of hesitates a little bit. He got it a little late. Tries to weave his way through.
Well played by Justin Lawrence off the nose, who played through the center's block and didn't leave any cutback room for the quarterback Kennedy. So second and goal from about the 1. or even closer. McLean in motion. Kennedy trying to sneak it across and won't get there.
Nope. Got back to line of scrimmage, maybe.
Kennedy has one rushing touchdown. First drive of the game was a 1-yard quarterback sneak. Boy, Lawrence just came up underneath the center and didn't give him anywhere to go.
And Scott, too, pulling from the backside.
It's 3rd and goal. Now it gets interesting. And the clock is a factor. It rolls with 8:45. Soul on top by 2 scores. An onside kick recovery and an interception by Romaine, the difference. Falls is stacked up at the line of scrimmage and loses a yard. It'll be 4th down.
It's a team that buckles up there, Lou, down in that red zone. It's hard to get into that zone with the Soul defense playing that kind of penetrating defense and collapsing the gaps and making the plays.
So it's a 4th down and goal, and this could be the ball game. 4th and goal brought to you by Foreman Mills. 3 straight terrific goal line stands by the defense of the Soul. Can they make it a 4th? Kennedy gives the reverse. McLean will walk it into the end zone, and the VooDoo are alive.
And they're 3 for 3 on 4th downs.
Tough, gutsy call, but the right one. After probing the interior of the line 3 times, they play a little reverse motion, and it works. The official's timeout. There's a VooDoo player down on the field in the interior line. I'll keep it right here. It's Falls, the fullback, who's had a great game. He took the fake into the line and apparently got belted for his effort. It was the fake that set up the clear run into the end zone for McLean.
I remember that bodies were piling up in there, Lou, and you get tangled in there. Big bodies rolling on each other. You get an ankle twisted.
Yeah, it ain't fun.
A lot of things get twisted in there.
He looks okay. That's good news. He's played a whale of a game for the VooDoo tonight. So here's a very important extra point for Garrett Lindholm to draw once again within 7 and 7 and change left in regulation. Spot, down, up, and good. The kicking games have been excellent tonight by both teams. So, a long way to go in this one. 7 minutes and change to go. It's the Soul 48, the VooDoo 41. Were you to put a betting line on this game beforehand, I think you would have said Soul by 15 or maybe more. But New Orleans just won't go away, and it's no letdown by the Soul tonight.
No, they're playing some good offense, especially here in the second half.
Right.
It's just been the spunk and the spirit of New Orleans. It's been hanging tough.
And they go for the short kick, Tom, and it goes out of play.
And they try to line drive it off the guy up the front, which is why you saw us lunge forward in the box here to see on the near side where the ball went. It hit on the 10-yard line right out of bounds. So remember, any kicked ball that hits the wall is out of bounds at that point.
Tom Goodhine has been around the indoor game, the arena game, for a long time. Nobody knows the rules better to help you enjoy the game on television as well as down here at the Wells Fargo Center. We're back home on the 26th of June, our next home game. Be sure to join us when the Soul take on the Storm. There's flags flying, but Runnable gets a free play and picks up some significant yardage to McDaniel, who's having a big game.
Nice 17-yard gain there. They'll probably decline the penalty. The whole front of the offensive line or defensive line jumped.
Offside. Defense, number 9. The penalty is declined, result of the play. First down.
So they're out to midfield for another set of downs, and past midfield, in fact. And Runnable with 7 touchdowns through the air in 7 tries, picking up more yardage. One of his best games of a great season. He's up near 80% completions now. 6:36 to go in regulation. He leads New Orleans, the Soul, by 7, 48-41. And another flag.
Conduct, defense number 9, simulating the snap. 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Simulating the snap.
I didn't get to see. I wasn't watching exactly what he was doing down on there, but obviously a maneuver or you know what it is. Normally it's usually the defensive lineman yelling hut if it's on 2 and giving the extra hut. And that time I guess the coaching staff for the Soul said, hey, this guy's doing this, keep an ear out for it, and they caught it that time.
James McClinton is the nose guard or nose tackle for New Orleans, out of Kansas, veteran in this league. 6'1", 315 pounds. Move the ball down to the 13 now. 6 minutes. McDaniel circles out to the right, to the corner. Marco Thomas with another touchdown at the Soul score. For Foods galore.
And then a twist celebration spike there for Thomas, but a nice route tree developed there by Clint Dalzell's offense, dialing that one up. All the attention is going to McDaniel, who's in that delayed motion that loops around, draws the attention of the defensive back, allows Thomas to go clean across the middle, cuts in front, and a nice easy pitch and catch for Rodabaugh to Thomas, their third connection of the evening.
Dan Rodabaugh, 8 times the offensive player of the game, making it 9, you would think, by the time this is done. Freevert's kick is up and good. Rodabaugh with 8 touchdown passes. The Soul back on top by 2 scores. 5 minutes, 21 to go. It's the Soul 55, New Orleans 41. Heavyweights going at it, but the Soul continue to answer each time they're challenged. And they lead it by 14. New Orleans will get the ball back. Plenty of time to go in arena ball. 5:21 to go. It's the Soul up 14, 55-41 from the Wells Fargo Center. Soul football brought to you by the Pennsylvania Lottery on the Comcast Network. Lou Tilley, Tom Goodhines, Barrett Brooks joined us a little earlier. And Freevert kicks it away deep for Larry Beavers. Off the iron, another tough one to handle. It's a free ball. It's a touchdown for the Soul, but now the flags fly.
And they didn't allow him to make the catch. You have to give him 5 yards in order to catch the ball. And obviously the way it bounced off the net, there's no way. All 3 of them hit as soon as the ball hit. So that's not gonna count as a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give the receiver the opportunity to catch the ball, giving him 5 yards.
Kick catch interference with contact, kicking team number 25. It is a foul to break the 5-yard belt while the ball is in the air.
How do you know?
10-yard penalty, first down.
You know, you're flying down there to cover a kick.
Well, if you're flying down, you also got to react to
look up and find the ball.
Well, look what the receiver's doing. The guy who's going to receive the ball, you're watching. That's where you're going. Your point of impact, you know where you're going to try to make the tackle. He doesn't even have the ball yet. Yeah, I know it's a whole timing thing, but you're that close and the guy still doesn't have the ball yet.
Second time the Soul could have recovered kicks for touchdowns. One time Outlaw had it and lost it, and that would have been clean and legal. So here comes Kennedy, who's had a terrific game. One of the best offensive showings of the year for New Orleans. Goes for it all, and a little long this time for McLean.
Romaine staying in his hip pocket, doing a nice job. Had good pace on the route, and had McLean there, and knew not to jump the route. He knew that was going to be a little too far. Did not risk the pass interference. Some of those instincts playing in well for Romaine.
Adam Kennedy has faced this 3 times now, where he has seen his team trail by 14 since the Soul outscored the VooDoo in the third quarter 14-0 to open the game up. It was tied at 27 all at the half. And each of those times, Kennedy has been able to bring him back within a touchdown, but no closer. And now maybe a turning point in this game. With under 4 minutes to go, the incompletion will bring up 3rd and long for the VooDoo, down 14.
It's important drive defensively for this defense. Can really come and make a statement. You got the 2 touchdown lead, but if you can come and just really put in the final blow. It really will set the tone for the rest.
James Romaine has the only turnover by the defense on an interception. And was right on top of that one for the incompletion. And the pass breakup will bring up 4th down and a chance to turn it over on downs.
Just a good play by Romaine. Timing right there at the same time the ball was coming in. Didn't try to jump it and try to risk a possible touchdown. Just doing the smart thing, knowing that it would have forced the 4th down. Let's battle for another day instead of trying to go for an interception.
Coaches like to say, keep the game in front of you, and Romaine did just that. Here it is, 4th down. Foreman Mills gamble. Stretch your bills with Foreman Mills. New Orleans 3 for 3 on 4th down already. This for the game. Incomplete. Incomplete, and it's a turnover on downs by the Soul defense. With 2:49 to go in regulation.
And a great coverage by Romaine to get over there just a little too far. And a big completion that needed to be made. But the Soul defense steps up and gets its second stop and first stop on downs on the game.
So the big plays for the Soul, if you want to start putting a summary on this. An onside kick recovered by Guzmi in the first half that gave the Soul their first lead and got them off serve, if you want to compare it to tennis. The second big change was Romaine's interception in the end zone at the start of the 3rd quarter that put the Soul ahead and built a 2-score lead, and now a turnover on downs. Brought a ball back to the air, goes to the end zone, and this is picked off. First turnover of the night for the Soul offense. And still alive. The VooDoo showing no quit. A big interception by Cam McGlenn.
Just got a little too greedy there, thrown into that coverage and noticing that the defensive back, McGlenn, dropping back and anticipating the corner route. They read that one, and I think the Soul just got a little greedy on that one.
McGlenn came off of his man and faded back like a center fielder to catch the ball from underneath, and then didn't give up on it, Tom. Made a nice lateral, and they get the ball out by midfield.
Yeah, dangerous one because he was actually out of the end zone and lateraled it back into the end zone, which would have been a safety.
So Kennedy and the VooDoo, when it looked like they were dead, have new life. And to the end zone, Beavers incomplete.
They didn't call a leg whip on Falls there. You can't trip. He rolled into it, tried to do a cut block, but then stuck his legs out. That's a dangerous play. You can't do that.
Watch Romaine,
right there, you can't do that. Romaine staying on the play, causing the incompletion.
Yeah, he's a turnover machine, Tom, but his coverage has been excellent tonight as well. There must be 3 or 4 direct breakups like that one. It's 2nd down and 10. Time is a factor now. 1:15 to go. Kennedy another corner round, and Romaine has the interception. Romaine, the star of the game in many ways, on the defense again tonight.
And that was a mistake by McLean. Thought he could bully into Romaine on that route. Hit him hard, but stopped his momentum, and it actually pushed Romaine into where the ball was going. So a big mistake by McLean leads to another interception by Romaine.
The Soul have it. They lead it 55-41. Back at the Wells Fargo Center, where James Romaine's second interception, taking him up to 9 now on the season.
1 minute warning.
At the 1 minute warning, has put the Soul up by 14 points. And in a good position to win their 10th game of a great start on the season. Dan Rotteball, under center, having one of his best games of the year. 19 for 25 for 278 and 8 touchdown throws. Throwing for it all. He's going to have 9. SK, Sean Kailina Moku into the end zone. Dan Rotteball goes to 20 for 26 for 320 yards and 9 touchdowns.
If it's there, you got to take it, Lou. I mean, I even look at Dan's reaction as he was walking down to the field, over to the bench. Like
I had to do it, Coach.
One of those shrugging of the shoulders, and SK just streaking down that side. You got to hit a guy that wide open.
SK now with 4 catches but for 90 yards and 3 touchdowns. Freevert tacking on the extra point. For the first time tonight, the Soul go up by 3 scores.
Looks like your point spread might be covered.
Yeah, I had the line, didn't I? 53 seconds remain in regulation. Soul 62, VooDoo 41. We're back home on the 26th after a couple of games on the road at Orlando and then out to play the Kiss in Los Angeles. Come on down and join us on Friday the 26th. That's a Friday night at 7:30 for the kickoff here at the Wells as the Tampa Bay Storm come in to take on the Soul. You can get your tickets at 888-789-SOUL or go online at PhiladelphiaSoul.com, and always check out the Soul website for the latest news, entertaining features. You'll see a recap of this game this week. And then we're back on the 26th as we start to head towards the playoffs, and the Soul making another run at a championship. And they haven't won it since 2008. What a great start to this year, even with some injuries. Tom Goodhines, Clint Dozell, Philadelphia front office, zigging and zagging some of the great personnel decisions this year, including this guy right here, Freevert, the kicker you picked up. Tom.
Yeah, you got to give it all across the board. Coach Phil Bogle, Derek Stingley, Lou Russo, the director of football, player personnel. It's truly a team effort all across the board from them.
Beavers has it cleanly. And the Soul have him out across the 15 with just 49 seconds left. We're in the final minute of play. We played the traditional timing now. So there's still some time on the clock and still a little drama left in this one, even though the Soul are ahead 62-41. If you're just tuning in, folks, this was a nail-biter. It was 27-all at the half with the VooDoo, a heavy underdog, leading most of the way in the first half. But then a 14-0 Soul third quarter broke it open. 3 times the VooDoo fought back within a touchdown. But then James Romaine's second interception of the game has been the difference in opening up a 3-score lead for the Soul. Rico Stevens pushing Duval out of bounds in front of the Rothman Institute section of the boards on the players' sideline where all the owners sit. By the way, speaking of the owners, Cosmo Denicola, now in the entertainment and sports representation business. Went Hollywood Tom this week. He was out there at the premiere of Entourage.
Yeah, I was trying to be a member of his entourage, and he just said, no, you got to stay there and win football games. So
you don't look so good in stilettos. And
we'll leave that. We'll leave that to him.
Yeah. Adam Kennedy's had a fine game. Is on target again. I think the VooDoo have found their quarterback for the rest of the year, but it looks like they're going to drop to 2-9 on a tough season.
Stevenson with another tackle along that side barrier. He's the hitter. He brings the thump in that secondary. With the exception of that Falls, the fullback, Roosevelt Falls, catch and run for 25 yards on a little screen, the secondary is tackled very, very well. And what looks like the Soul's 10th victory of the year. A marked improvement, even across the board. You look at all of those D-backs. Yep, all of them. For the Soul. Yep. Richardson had 3 or 4 good licks in today. And Romaine, with the 2 turnovers, has also kept his coverage in front of him. Kennedy throws underneath. Good catch by Duval. Shoved out of bounds inside the 15. And looks like, Kennedy, who has missed a couple of games with an injury, got his leg rolled up on by Justin Lawrence, but pops up out of the pile. Looks like he's okay. And there's the ball set inside the 15. Everyone a little slow getting back to the line of scrimmage. A little pile up there, too. I think Brian Robinson was also down there, and Lawrence all tangled up in that pile before they unraveled it. Good comeback year for B-Rob, whose numbers dropped off a bit last year, but he's back on track up there in the sack leaders. A couple of big plays this game. Kennedy to the end zone. Duval broken up at the last second, but Larico Stevenson's on the coverage, but there's a flag in the roughing the passer. It looks like Brian Robinson gave a little extra shove to Kennedy.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense, number 13, unnecessary knockdown, 10-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
13, I think he meant Robinson. Could be wrong, as I thought it looked like Robinson had done it. 13's not on the field right now. And he just walked off the field. Did he? Yeah. All right. Patrick Scott. 12 and 13, so one of the two did it.
So it's first and goal for the VooDoo with 29 seconds left in regulation. They're down by 21. Kennedy puts McLean in motion in the slot. Looks to the corner on the slant, and it's picked off. Gooseby, the Jack linebacker, Joe Gooseby.
Nice job. It saves your point spread. And the other thing that the coaches have been preaching, when it's coming to the playoffs and home field advantage and even Arena Bowl looking forward, it does matter about point differential. So don't think that at the end of these games that they're just going to let them walk in. They want to maintain that point differential because it'll add to the case of being able to host, possibly if they get that far enough in the playoffs, to host the Arena Bowl.
Right now, let's talk about it, Tom. Right now, it looks like the Soul and San Jose, the other sides of the coast, are the class of the league in the two conferences.
Those are the two teams that everybody's pointing to. But again, I think the strategy and the philosophy of the coaching staff is to keep these guys focused on a game-by-game basis.
Randall in at quarterback now to clean up for Dan Ronnebaugh, who completed about 80% of his passes on one of his best nights of his best season, I'd say. And the Soul on top by 21 are going to rack up their 10th win of the season against just one loss. They started off the year at 7-0, lost one. Put that right behind them, Tom, and came roaring back.
And that's one of these positions in the game. It's hard. You'd say, oh, they put in their backups. Well, there aren't any backups. I know the only one they really got is at the quarterback spot with Brian Randall getting in. But Marco Thomas is still running his routes.
And throwing the ball is Randall.
Making his catches. And remember, helmet off, he's automatically down at that point.
Marco Thomas, who's had a fine game. But it was Ryan McDaniel as the leading receiver for Dan Ronnebaugh tonight. Ryan, so far, 9 catches, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marco now has 7 catches for about 100 yards. Kalain Moko, SK, has 4 for 90 and 3 touchdowns.
And that's what Reggie Smith was just explaining there, that once the helmet is off, that is an automatic stoppage of play, and that's where they'll mark the ball.
And they restart the clock. This will do it. The Soul are going to go down passing. And heading for the end zone. Now let's hope SK's okay. He took a fall down there on the last play of the game, dislodging one of the boards, and he's hurt. Let's hold it right here. Let's hold it right here. There's an injury down in the end zone. And we want to make sure that SK is okay before we sign off for this one. Boy, this would be...
It's twisting down there near the board. You don't want to see that knee get twisted up. It'll look like he was grabbing his right knee.
Boy, Ron Jaworski is out of the box. He's down there in the end zone. All of the Soul players, of course, concerned right now. I'll keep an eye on it, and we'll start to put a wrap on this one. The final score, the Soul 62, New Orleans VooDoo 41. Soul move out to 10-1, Tom. And they were challenged tonight, but responded.
Question about it. This New Orleans team has been much improved from the beginning of the season. Obviously, they found a quarterback with Kennedy that was making plays. They had a good game plan called of the short passes, working the ball down the field, getting some confidence. You know, and then the Soul were able to regroup and had that big third quarter, and they were able to pull away.
Amazing if you look at the season averages, the Soul averaging about 59 points scored and 41 points given up on the year. And tonight's final score, 62-41. I have good news. SK is up and moving on his own. So let's wrap it up from here for all of us here at Lou Tilly Media and for the Philadelphia Soul. The final score, Soul 62, New Orleans 41. One more time to Lou Sr., Dad, and all the good folks at Area Tarsdale Hospital in the Northeast. Keep fighting. There's a long way to go in this game, Dad, and we'll see you soon right here on the Comcast Network.